PvP. My server cried in fear. Communities were broken in the patch, so their warnings I didn't hear. Alone, why did I go alone? To try and do my work quest on Darkshore. The Horde is here, I really should have known. And my spec's not as good as it was before. And as they camp around my corpse, the net won't let me flee. The healer spell locked, ganked by 50 rogues. Why did I enable PvP?
I'm listening now. Bashira. No, Bashira, seriously, will you teach me how to PvP? No, please, you gotta teach me how to PvP!
Not fair, the war mode PvP. Only one side has fun. So if you're playing Horde in BfA, beware.
There is much to be done.
Hello everyone and welcome to another Wondrous Wisdom Show. And if I look a little bit overexcited, well, that's because I am. BfA is now so close, it's probably sitting at the foot of your bed watching you as you sleep. And as usual, we've got plenty to be talking about today, including the first part of the War of Thorns event, the second part of the War of Thorns event, JAINA, Uldir, leveling nerfs, and loads more. But before anything else, I want to say a massive thank you to the incredible Sharm, who recorded the vocals to that song on the shortest ever time frame and did it amazingly. Her channel is chock full of brilliant WoW parodies and original songs, so please go and show her some love. She's amazingly talented and also, it turns out, a totally brilliant person too. And speaking of amazing, the war has officially started, you guys. Do you remember last episode when the pre-patch dropped and some people were a little bit upset because, well, mostly because of the game-breaking bugs in fairness, but some people also because there was no actual, I guess you could say, content in that first week. No quests, no story, unless you're a Shadow Priest, in which case the class updates were a very, very sad story. But all of that changed this week as the Horde forces made their way through Ashenvale en route to laying siege to Teldrassil and kicking off the War of Thorns pre-expansion event as Alliance forces mobilized to try and hold them back. And okay, so we all knew, because we all watched this show and we told you, that nothing would be resolved yet in this first week. The tree would remain tantalizingly unburned. The players' actions would end in stalemate. Very few of our most pressing questions, like who does actually burn Teldrassil? Or why are Tauren Druids okay with seriously like any of this? Would be answered. This is a story that unfolds over 3 weekly installments. We knew that. You know what happens next. What is this? Seriously, what is this nonsense? BfA pre-patch, worst ever in WoW history. Unsubbed, thanks for the worst story ever. Pre-launch event, literal garbage. The launch event is trash. War of Thorns, War of Snores. Right, good. So why were so many people annoyed by the new content on offer this week? Well, there are a few different reasons that seem to go along the lines of, there isn't enough of it, it's bad, it's time-gated, and it's not as good as Legion. And all of these do, in fairness, have some basis in truth. These quest lines, different for Horde and Alliance, are not very long. The Alliance side took me around 20 minutes to complete, and the Horde version a little longer. And I can get how, if you, the player, have just been through the post-expansion wind-down, and you're looking forward to any new content, and Blizz is all like, okay, here it comes, guys, it's the pre-patch, it's time to get hype, it's all about to go down. Here's Sylvanas looking badass, here's some hilarious new TV ads. I actually do really like a couple of these, to be honest. Here's an awesome call to arms things that you can do with your friends. Oh, okay, actually, you can't do that anymore. I don't know what's going on there. But okay, here's Anduin putting on a hat. Get ready for war. I can see why, after that much build-up and hype, your initial reaction at the end of Chapter 1 might be, oh, okay. And true enough, a lot of players were left feeling nonplussed. But of course, those quest lines aren't all of the content of the pre-patch. It's not even all of the content that we got last week. There's world quests to do, which seem to have been named by someone who is very excited about the new Freddie Mercury biopic, and the new war mode features to get to grips with. Oh, we're coming back to war mode. So is the problem time gating? Well, look, I know time gating is the new criticism buzzword in WoW at the moment, but I honestly think it has its place creatively. WoW is a game which progresses in real time, and it makes sense to me that these events would take place over the course of a couple of weeks rather than in a single afternoon's play session. And this is not 7.2, where they had to make a single quest line last 12 weeks on the Broken Shore. This is much more like that fortnight leading up to the Nighthold opening, which I really liked. If there is a fault for me, it's not in the length of the quest chain or in the way that it's spread out, it's that these opening quests just weren't impactful enough. If this is the start of a war, let's start with a bang. Let's let everyone know that this thing has begun. We don't quite get that satisfaction. Instead, the whole first half of the Horde story has you flying around, delivering messages while other people do the actual fighting, and it surprisingly feels a bit lonely. It does get better right at the very end as the two forces reach a stalemate and throw rocks at each other either side of a gorge, but having an admittedly pretty cool actual battle here kind of makes it worse, because as a player you think, good, now it's really starting, but it hasn't really started because this is the end, see you next week. And I feel bad criticizing it for that, because I've played the beta, I know that those big battles I'm yearning for are coming in this event, and I especially feel bad criticizing it because actually I've had a ton of unexpected fun on Darkshore this week with War Mode. Because like we say, this is the first place that all of the new open world PvP functionality has been implemented, and perhaps precisely because there's a reason to be there, but there's not really all that much to do, there's fights breaking out between Horde and Alliance players everywhere. And speaking as someone who has always chosen to play on a PvE RP server, it's brilliant. Like, it's genuinely really good fun. It feels appropriate to the content, and I have spent hours flying around Darkshore this week, getting wiped out by groups of opposing players, putting together a group of my own to get revenge, and then doing it all over again. Look, I'm terrible at PvP. I've never even considered playing on a PvP server, but I had an absolute blast. I became an assassin, got a bounty put on my head for being such a badass. I saw absolutely no supply crates drop at all, although they apparently do exist. And generally, the game facilitated me making my own fun in a really sandboxy type way, which is what everyone always says they want more of in WoW. Is it as flat out stupid fun as Legion's demon invasions? Well, I was going to say no, but actually with War Mode on, it does sometimes feel very similar. And without it, well look, you've got a day and a half from when this video comes out before you get to play through Chapter 2, which is a big deal, because then, finally, we will learn the answer to a question which we've been asking since Battle for Azeroth was revealed at BlizzCon. Seriously though, who burns down the tree though? And this is why it's silly to compare this to the Legion pre-patch, because it's specifically trying to do something completely different from that. And the mystery surrounding the burning of Teldrassil is a great example of that. There are Horde players right now having major existential crises about what they are being forced to do in the name of their war chief. Just in this pre-patch, wiping out a village full of civilians, and okay, yeah, you're only supposed to kill the soldiers, but when you get there as an Alliance player, all the civilians are dead, and yeah, that was probably me, sorry, I think I did that. I killed the civilians, but it was purely for research purposes, you understand. Killing wisps, which is a big no-no if you're a druid. Attempting to assassinate Malfurion, who in the past has always refused point blank to fight the Horde, to the extent that other Night Elves had tried to kill him for being a traitor. And Sylvanas just generally being so hilariously over the top nasty that you wouldn't be surprised if she grew a twirly moustache and started tying people to railway tracks like in an old movie. And I think it's great that players are being made to question their actions. War is never straightforward after all, and I'm sure that the Alliance will get their turn for some soul searching soon. So for now, let's have the last possible bit of fun that we can have on this subject and ask one final time, who burns down the tree though? Is it prime suspect number 1, Sylvanas? I find this highly unlikely. If the Dark Lady herself actually lit the match, then I don't think Blizzard would have gone to all of this trouble to keep it a secret for so long. No, there's obviously a morally grey twist coming here. It's supposed to make us realise that there's two sides to every story and all that, but really, even if Sylvanas doesn't physically start the fire herself, it doesn't mean she's not ultimately to blame though, does it? Like, when you gather your army and march on a place with the specific aim of killing its leader and occupying its people, and that place ends up on fire, it's kind of your fault no matter how much you insist, hey, I never wanted the tree on fire, I just wanted the killing and the occupying people, I was perfectly content with that, no tree on fire, not me. So I'm going to say no to Sylvanas, and with the Banshee Queen, the Killer Queen, oh, Oh, I just realised, well, the world quest are named after Queen songs. Sorry, carry on. Off the list, who are the other contenders? Well, I've heard JAINA's name mentioned frequently, in the same way that I've heard Gen Greymane's name mentioned. The idea being that one of them starts the fire on purpose to fool the Alliance into war with the Horde. I'm going to say no to these as well, and in fact, no to anyone secretly burning down Teldrassil to start a war between the factions for one pretty obvious reason. No one has to trick anyone. Sylvanas is already marching on Darkshore with the explicit intention of murdering their leader and stealing all their shit. This war has already started. It would be like trying to trick Weezer into releasing yet another album that is not quite as good as Pinkerton. It's an unnecessary trick because it's gonna happen anyway. So no, my money is on the Alliance burning down the tree as they are forced to retreat, and as such, my money is on Anduin himself giving the order. Only one of us wanted this war, he tells Sylvanas, but now it is on. See you next week at the Undercity, boys. That's my totally wild guess anyway. It's likely you'll be watching this after the reveal, so feel free to laugh at me in the comments if that's what you really want.
Another thing that got us all talking this week was the first of the new animated Warbringers shorts leading up to the Battle for Azeroth's release. This opening film focused on Jaina, as expected, and took the form of a 4-minute sea shanty, which is fair to say was not entirely expected. Taliesin did an entire deep dive analysis of this animation last week, which, and this isn't important but he'd hate me if I didn't mention it, is director Doug Alexander and Taryn Gregory approved, by the way. But it wouldn't be fair if I didn't get a chance to gush over it a bit too, because this was really special. We don't really do reaction videos, but just this once, I'll make an exception and recreate the second straight after watching this. Holy shit! That was basically it. There's a couple of things I especially loved about this that Taliesin didn't mention. I love this shot of Theramore and how big the ruin is, as opposed to the very compact model in-game. I love how when you eventually get to Uldir in BfA, this is just a folk song that people sing to themselves as they rove from dock to dock. And I love how when the voice of Jaina, Laura Bailey, tweeted about this, she said, "Jaina is a boss, y'all." Wait, what? Well, I always suspected this would be the case, but I wasn't expecting it to be revealed in such an offhand way. Hang on, let me just check that. Yes, it's true. Jaina confirmed a raid boss in Battle for Azeroth, everyone. And just to be clear, Belle, that was a joke. Stop making that video. Taliesin also stirred some controversy by predicting that Jaina would kill Rexxar next expansion too, which is, of course, ridiculous because that would mean Laura Bailey killing Matt Mercer, and that's just too weird. It couldn't happen. The thing I love absolutely the most about this animation, though, is that it's a great example of what makes Jaina so interesting right now. Because with all this talk about Sylvanas and whether or not she's evil, Jaina might be the only character in the game at the moment who truly deserves to be described as morally grey. She does things we may not agree with, but for genuinely understandable reasons. The next two entries in the series have got a very high bar to reach after this. Blizzard continues to deal with the fallout of the pre-patch that broke everything. One of the biggest complaints players have had since the stat squish is that leveling has become much harder and more laborious than usual, with mobs in low-level areas not scaling properly or just being massively OP. Blizzard had this to say in a blue post. "If you think this is hard, then don't play Classic because seriously, you'll shit yourself." Oh no, sorry, that's not it. Sorry, I don't know where that came from. Nothing about the pre-patch was deliberately intended to make combat take longer than it did previously, so why haven't we fixed it yet? Honestly, because we genuinely don't know where exactly the problem lies. I mean, this post from Ian Has Custos is 8 paragraphs long, and there's a link to it in the description below, but that's the gist of it. Basically, they accidentally broke the game, but they don't actually know how, which is funny, but also kind of terrifying at the same time. Like, I don't want to wake up one day to find that my account has been deleted because they tried to change a skybox in Stranglethorn, you know? But the good news is that after this pretty detailed apology, steps were quickly put in place to, if not fix the problem, mitigate it slightly. A hotfix reducing the damage dealt by creatures by 16% and their health by up to 24% between levels 1 to 100 until a proper fix is put in place next week. It's probably not enough to stop the forums insisting this is all a conspiracy to make leveling harder so we buy character boosts from the store, but it'll certainly help anyone currently battling through this 60 to 80 leveling black hole for the time being. And Blizzard also announced this week the release schedule for the first raid of the new expansion, Uldir. The Titan Old God testing facility will open its doors on the 4th of September for normal and heroic difficulties, with the mythic race starting 7 days later. At least, that's according to the in-game calendar. There's been no official announcement yet, but I'd say the calendar is pretty official. It's got little graphics and everything. So finally, you have the information you need to start planning your holidays, weddings, births, and anything else you might want to fit around a raid launch. Or maybe like us, you're going to be away on a guild holiday on that date, and actually you're hoping that the calendar doesn't necessarily make it official, and actually it's totally possible that it'll be a different day entirely. But either way, make the most of all the excellent old god themed stuff in Uldir, because that's the only old gods you'll see in BfA. This is an expansion about the faction war. Remember, there are no old gods in BfA. Why are you even talking about old gods? And lastly, if the war mode free-for-all in Darkshore this week has whet your appetite for more PvP, it turns out that since 8.0, the Highmaul Coliseum is now available to level 110 characters. And I know, you have no idea what that is because you never built the Gladiator's Sanctum in your Warlord's Garrison, and rightfully so. But you might want to now, because at level 3, it will allow you to enter a 15-player free-for-all event. That's right, a Battle Royale mode. Be the last one standing and you'll win the Warlord's Flag of Victory and Lord or Lady of War title, which, as well as being pretty rare and therefore totally badass, is also extremely fitting for Battle for Azeroth, isn't it? Unlike, say, Killer of Old Gods, which just wouldn't be appropriate at all. Wowhead have a really good guide to the whole thing, obviously, which we'll also link below. To be honest, the hardest part of this entire achievement might well be getting 15 players all queuing for WoD Garrison PvP content at the same time, but everyone loves Battle Royale stuff right now, right? Just patch it in so you drop into the arena from a Zeppelin while 12-year-olds shout racism at you over voice comms, and it's a guaranteed hit, Blizz. GG.
By the way, speaking of fun, I really like your green screen dress that you're wearing today.
Thank you. Well, I didn't even think about it.
This is opening up my mind for all sorts of possibilities. I'm thinking maybe we should just like green screen a suit of armor onto you or something. Or like a green... or
I would just be a floating head.
Well, yeah, we could just green
be the
screen
new
you.
CAD guy.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
We'll see.
Don't know why I didn't think of that.
I like this. It makes me feel like a wizard.
Or for the thumbnail, like a green screen, like a skimpy bikini onto you.
Right.
For the views.
Yeah.
For the hot thumbnail.
Mm-hmm.
Should we do that?
I'd much rather you green screen it than show the real thing. So. Do whatever you want.
We've got some winners to announce
Hey!
For our... do you want to grab that?
These sweet
Yeah.
babies.
I mean, you don't need to, because I could just green screen it onto you, but...
I'm just wearing books.
We have 3 of these Before the Storm books to give away. Hardback, mate. Hardcover.
They're really nice.
They're beautiful. Look. To enter was very, very easy. You just had to smash the like button.
Yeah.
Like you were a millennial cracking avocado on your toast for breakfast.
I was going to say like you're on your honeymoon.
I think we did that one, though.
Did we?
On our honeymoon. Oh, it's all lies. I had sunstroke. And you had to write for Sylvanas or for Anduin in the comments below.
That's all you had to do.
Neither choice would affect your chance of winning. We lied, because actually only people that said for Anduin will win. No, jokes, mate. It's all totally random. And the winners are coming up on screen right now. Congratulations.
Congrats.
Check your comment on the video. Because we will be trying to get in contact with you. And those of you who won the competition last week, we will be getting in contact with you to get your addresses
very soon.
Very soon.
How exciting.
You better believe it. And lastly, last prediction.
Yeah?
Who burns the tree?
Did you
As
think
you'll
it was
know.
Malfurion?
Oh, do you know what? I did say it was Malfurion originally,
Yeah.
but I kind of have refined that. What I meant was I thought it would be the Alliance blatantly doing it, like in a retreat.
Yeah.
And so I said that was going to be Malfurion. I don't
Okay.
think. I think it's going to be Anduin, who's
really
like,
think
we've
it's
got to
gonna
get
be
out of
Anduin?
here, and everyone's like, but we can't. Gen will be like, but we can't let them have the tree. No, Malfurion will be like, oh, Tyrande, don't let them have the tree.
Do you think Tyrande burns it?
Maybe. But it will be on Anduin
It
say
could be
so.
a-
That's what I'm saying.
You know what? I think that could be pretty good because Anduin's been so good. Like, reading this book, Anduin is so good and pure, and he does what is good.
Yeah.
Whereas Sylvanas is on the opposite end of that
Yeah,
spectrum.
yeah.
Then maybe Anduin has
Yeah.
to do something
I
that
mean-
isn't 100% like,
But it
I'm
would-
the Pope.
it-
At all costs, we cannot lose the Night Elves because have you seen their new skimpy armor set?
Yes, I've seen their new skimpy armor sets.
my God,
It's
they're
basically
so great.
all I've looked at. And that's the thing. The Horde attack on Teldrassil was so
You're like,
unexpected that the Night Elves didn't even have a chance to get dressed.
Are they low res?
No. They're like, I mean, there's only so much res you
I
can
look
put
at
into a
them.
bit of
I will
string
exactly-
over a boo.
I look
Do you know
at
what I
them
mean?
and like...
Well, I look forward to next week's episode of the Weekly Reset where we can talk about it all in depth, knowing what has happened. And I look forward to the new Warbringers. I look forward to maybe even getting our tanking video out.
Oh, one day.
Finally.
Wait, will the tree be burning by this time next week?
Mate, by this time next week, the tree will be a little burnt stump. It'll be like a little Anakin Skywalker, a little Hayden Christensen. It will just be like in the middle of the sea and it'll be all burnt and just be going, I hate you, I hate you.
No.
And Sylvanas would be like, Anduin, don't, I have the high ground. And I'd be like, I hate you, I hate you.
Such a good movie. Can we show my favourite gif of you and McGregor right now?
Yeah, we'll do that just for you.
Thank
In
you.
fact, we're going to green screen it onto your dress. So stay still. Oh, and they say there's no magic on the internet these days. Guys, you know... Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks, guys.
If you like this episode, don't thank us. Thank our patrons who give their actual real life money to make these videos happen. Guys, thank you for being our patrons. Thank you for being on our patron community, on Blizz communities.
Yeah.
And thank you for stepping up when I needed your help to record that video, which you probably, normal viewer, missed. But
Yeah.
they put in some good stuff there.
They're the bomb.
They're brilliant. If you didn't like it, downvote the shit out of it. Remember, my name is Gumdrops. No, my name is Taliesin. From me,
And me, Evitel.
until next time, cheerio.